Welcome to the Able Speaks podcast, where we speak to commonly asked questions by parents who have received a life-limiting diagnosis for their child. We're Daniel and Kelly Crawford, and we're glad that you've joined us. Hello, friends. Welcome back to a short and sweet episode of the Able Speaks podcast, I think. We'll see how it goes. But this question is a little bit of a clickbait, but you clicked on it, and we're here. It is, what is the biggest obstacle to families receiving great support in this season? And so let's not dangle the carrot too far. All right. What is our answer to that question? And then let's unpack it a little bit.
Yeah. The biggest obstacle for parents is making initial contact with us, typically. And so we have seen that, and we understand that is a very vulnerable season that you find yourself in, and that it can feel really overwhelming and hard to reach out to complete strangers that you don't know and share the most vulnerable part of your life probably to date. And that really prohibits parents from reaching out and sharing what they're going through, sometimes with friends and family, but very specifically to us as a ministry. And so making initial contact is the hardest but best first step.
Yeah. And that sounds almost probably pretty arrogant, like we're the solution to all of your problems, and so you just need to reach out to us.
No, I'm kidding.
But we did an episode 15, I believe it was, of just, we say support changes stories as like a rally cry, and we unpack why we believe that and what that really looks like in that episode. And a huge piece of the pie is just the relational element of the support. Being rooted in relationships as a ministry, we believe and have seen that the most significant thing we can provide to you is a community of other people that have walked a similar road, and that we don't have to do this by ourselves, and we don't have to figure this out alone. And we share in that episode just our personal experience. The first time we got connected, there was no Able Speaks. There was just Able in the womb. And the first time we got connected to a set of parents that had walked, a similar road with their daughter Ava, and just it really felt like a pivot point in that journey. And so that's how every other service, every other tangible way that we come alongside families, that's at the core, and that can't be done from a distance and just following along.
Yeah, and like for us as a ministry, it's a privilege for us to get to serve and walk alongside these families. And what we've seen is just our biggest challenge is how do we encourage parents to reach out to us so that we can provide the resources that we have and information and suggestions to them. And so we have lots of parents that listen to our podcast, that read the blog or the stories that we have on our website or follow us on social media, and they never take that what feels like a huge step and a huge leap to actually reach out to us and ask what support looks like and how we can, as a ministry, serve them. And then sometimes we get messages, 6 months, a year later, saying, I just felt like I couldn't do it, but I wish I would have reached out during that season. I think it would have really helped me. And as Daniel said, not because we're awesome or special, but because I think God created us to live in relationship with one another, bear one another's burdens. And there's something comforting about knowing someone who has walked through something similar and has a similar story to you and is a little further along in their journey. So our heart is for parents to reach out, and we do a lot of these external resources with the hope that it can build enough trust to take that step.
Yeah. And so that first step, what it typically looks like is just emailing in through the website, and it looks like lining up an initial call, typically on Zoom, with our wonderful family care coordinator, and then with a mentor couple that is a just vetted stud alumni, so to speak, that has walked through the ministry themselves and is now at a point in their journey to walk with you. And so again, everything about that might sound like, for any number of reasons, just totally intimidating, totally undesirable. And what I would maybe just leave you with is just a subtle challenge, which is just, what's the worst that could happen? And the worst that could happen is that was a painfully awkward hour of my life that I'll never get back. And I would hate that. I have not seen that happen very much, but it's certainly in the realm of possibility. And so let's acknowledge that, but let's also acknowledge that I actually want to read a text that I got from one of our mentor couples literally last night, because this is also a possible scenario right here, is that this message from this family currently carrying their child with a life-limiting diagnosis said, "Thank you so much again for sharing your child's story with us. That meeting with you two has been a turning point for us and has helped us to view this whole journey in a different way. It felt like we weren't allowed to be happy about our daughter at first, like it would be inappropriate given her diagnosis. But we've both been able to start feeling proud to be her parents again and to feel free to celebrate her and enjoy her. So thank you so much for sharing your son with us. He is so special." And so that's just one little snapshot example of a sentiment that we are humbled and encouraged to hear often, and that we relate to as a part of our own journey, and that it is a privilege to pay forward. And so, to go back to the question, what is the biggest obstacle to families receiving the level of support that we have seen change stories? It really is getting over that initial hurdle of reaching out to strangers in the middle of a vulnerable season when you might already be crazy introverted or just not want to talk to or see anybody. And so I get it, and we've seen it, and we understand, and yet we would still urge you and invite you to reach out for all the support that we can offer. We hope that these external resources, podcasts, the blog, the website, the Instagram, we hope that they can be a source of encouragement to you, but also hope that it doesn't end there. And so I'm probably going to say something like that again in this canned outro that's the last 30 seconds of every episode. And so here's myself on repeat, but we love you. We want to connect with you. And so that wraps up this episode of the Able Speaks podcast. Hey friends, thanks for listening in. We hope this content has been helpful. At Able Speaks, we exist to support families who have chosen to carry a child with a life-limiting diagnosis, and we want you to know that the foundation of that support is rooted in relationships. And so if you're a parent in this circumstance, then by all means continue listening in, but we'd really encourage you to reach out by sending an email to support@ablespeaks.org. Again, our heartfelt prayer is that this episode has served you in some way and that we might have the opportunity to serve you further in the future.